Okay, so we're recording now. So this is the demo meeting for Sprint A of 2020. Woo! Our first demo.
First sprint.
And then first one we filmed in a long time.
Yeah.
So we just set up an agenda. But Brendan, you want to walk through who's going first and what they're going to do?
Yeah, sure. So today, this week, we're kind of getting back in the groove of things and working on a bunch of stuff as well as the app. We're demoing some new features, some new ways of working, and a whole bunch of work on supporting stuff that we think is super vital to what we do. So with that, I think we'll just kind of go around the room and demo it. That way I don't ruin too many surprises. Yeah, with that, who's going to kick off? Casey, are you going to start?
I was. Cool. I should screen share. I'm going to share my desktop. Can you guys see?
Yep. Beautiful.
Obligatory checking to see if everyone can see.
Can you hear me now?
All right, so I was working on the Schema Editor that is in the structure pane in your status. So you can make changes here.
Hey.
And you'll see that when you click away, it actually updates the underlying file.
Awesome.
We have a fun, so it works for each of these things. String, title, tab through, description, validation will do the same thing. But then if you...
Validation is not working yet.
Validation is not working yet,
Okay.
but it does have a functioning field.
Beautiful.
That we could decide maybe we want to not even have that
Yeah.
when we go to
We'll probably do an overlay that's similar, and like we have a whole conversation to have about how validation. Sweet.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt.
So we have this beautiful type picker that you can, oh, and as you change it, see it changes back here, you can have a single type or multi, which
So good.
lets you do a whole array of types here. If you click any, that means that that's signaling to us that you don't want to have any type restrictions, and so we'll actually remove the type.
That is so fast. The way, yeah, as you were
Yeah,
like.
it's pretty cool. The other fun thing is, you notice this triangle guy over here. We have, this is a description that runs long, and when you twirl out, it'll show the whole description.
Nice.
Also, if you have multiple guys here,
Nice.
twirl in, twirl out. We did it! And brought to you by Designs and Sketch,
Yay.
which made everything really like
We have a
great
plan
to
now.
work on. Yeah.
Having plans is great.
Okay, that's me.
That's
I'm
awesome.
gonna stop sharing.
Nice. Wonderful. Cool. Chris, you want to go?
Sure. Let me share. All right. So I have been working on, can you see my screen?
Yeah.
So I've been working on a replatforming of Qri.io. So what you see on the front page here looks pretty much like it did on the other page, although we do have kind of a separate header here. I think we, in the interest of time, we sort of moved over a lot of the static content, not the documentation site. Documentation site was sort of the main effort, but then we said for replatforming, we need to just basically move the whole site over. So what you're seeing here is basically the same old query front page, which we're going to work on soon. But I'll just bring us over to Docs so we can see our new fancy new Docs site. So yeah, we have some custom graphics and everything by Brendan, which look beautiful, and a wonderful layout here. We're calling attention to these quick starts. And then we have the full contents down here. So all this is dynamic, and as soon as you add a new markdown file in the right folder structure in the code base, it'll just appear in all these places. So let's click on one, for example, like what is query, and we've got this nice 3-column layout here. So this is the entire Docs hierarchy. So everything we put in will sort of show up in the sidebar, but it's meant to be. I don't have to scroll down more than like more than like a couple of page heights to see the entire thing. And I don't have to I don't have to click to expand anything either, which we've studied a few doc sites and found that kind of distracting when you expand, long nested lists and like things jump on the page. So this is nice and clean. You can click on these and kind of move around. Really fun thing about Gatsby is that it is a static site generator, so that if you load any individual URL, the full contents of the page is in the response, which means it can be indexed by search engines and all that sort of thing. But then once it loads, it's kind of behind the scenes does all this magic for code splitting and pretending it's normal, or not even pretending, acting like a normal client-side SPA, so that you can have these really fast transitions. It's just kind of grabbing snippets behind the scenes. So
what does SPA stand for?
Single page application. So running completely in the client, and you don't have to see this sort of flash every time you move around, which is especially good for navigating the app, the docs, because you can just kind of click through and see that it just pops up without a flash of reloading content. We also have this content, so basically any H2 on the page will show up here in the right sidebar. And then it looks good on mobile too. So this is what the mobile navigation UI looks like. So you can still see the entire list, close up the header, and scroll all the way down and check it out. So this is also deployed with technology called Netlify, which is a platform that sort of watches a GitHub repo. Useful, especially for single page apps, because there's no backend to deploy, and it'll just sort of constantly be redeploying. So in addition to actually picking up master and redeploying it every time, so every pull request will just automatically get deployed. We don't have to do any special like Circle CI stuff. It also will do branch deploys and PR deploys. So any PR that anyone makes, if somebody else is reviewing it, they don't have to pull it down and run it locally to actually see the content. They can actually see it live via like a preview link. So it's running on Netlify. So
if someone submits a pull request to us, will we be able to see that?
Yeah. It'll be in the pull request, like it'll say, so and so submitted this pull request, and they'll have their comments, and it'll say Netlify preview, and you just click on it and see what it is. So a few different interventions, including the layout, including the design, and including the deployment, is all going to make for really seamless, easy ways to update documentation. So you just run in, write some markdown, and then things just happen. So it's beautiful.
What a time to be alive.
So that's what we got.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and then we're going to continue to improve, of course, but it's deployed and live.
And
we also, I should comment on that too. So we migrated our blog content, which used to be in our Hugo our Hugo site, which is another static site generator that we used to be using. Just found that it's generally, much easier to use medium.com with a graphical interface to do drafts and publications. So we now have a Medium publication called medium.com/Qri-io, which we are all contributors to, migrated over all the content. And now we have sort of a easier way to write blog posts quickly without having to do the code thing. So the blog links on Qri.io just go straight to that Medium publication, and that will be our future.
Fantastic.
So that's all I got.
That's great. Thank you. Woo! I do want to sort of like take a quick second to just dig in and A/B what Chris has done. Like this is what, hopefully everyone can see this. This is what our docs page looked like. This was docs homepage before. This is docs homepage now. That's a night and day difference. And I think the biggest difference is even like looking at a data set page. We now even just like have an explanation of a body. Like we actually have a place where we can dig in and explain that in better sort of detail. So like, yeah, to me, this is a big deal. Docs really matter. Doing this right is very important. And so I'm very excited to see that, that whole thing. So I wanted to just show the AUB. Cool. So for my work today, this sprint, I was mainly working on sewing a browse experience into desktop. So one of the things we're going to do is we have this place called Qri.cloud where you can, we have all of our, which acts as our sort of like centralized registry of data sets. So when you hit publish, stuff comes here to Qri Cloud, which is great. But what we're going to do in the future is we're actually going to bring this entire experience into desktop. And so one of the first, and so basically this week I was working on a bunch of the fundamentals. This sprint is working on bringing those fundamentals into Qri Desktop. And so to do that, we've been working through a new sort of method over the last little while we build out these new components. And so instead of just letting them directly into the app, we now use this feature called Storybook. If you want to play along at home, download the Qri Desktop code base and run yarn Storybook or npm Storybook. And so it makes it for a little easier like building of stuff. And so we're going to generally try and stage stuff here before we move it into the next place. And so for my work this sprint, we've always been able to sort of search for things on desktop. or on Query Cloud. And we want to bring this into desktop. And so the first thing we need to do is sort of wire this all up so that it works. And so that's what this modal is going to do. So here, this is actually live and connected to actual data. Oh, I need to first do something really quick. Sorry. Never demo live. Query Connect. I lied.
Reconnecting.
Query Connecting. I can't type either. Okay, cool. Now, if we give that a hot second, and then I type back again, now I get results. Cool. So as you can see, we actually are now, when you run Qri Desktop, always in the background is a copy of Qri, the command line tool, running for you in this Query Connect mode. And now what it can do is sort of like proxy requests for you to the registry if that is needed. And so we can sort of see this. And as like a very cursory starting point, we now search. So this is real. This search like works. I can search for like weather. Always a query weather bot. So it's like yeah, that's it. Yeah, so like there it is, which is great. Yeah, and so Query Cloud also has sort of a cursory notion of a feed, which is this sort of recently published and featured datasets list. From here, we're also, that too is sort of working its way into Qri Desktop and will be there as a feed itself. This is a very cursory version of a home feed that actually shows, this is again pulling live data of both featured datasets here and then recent datasets. We're not finished with the look of this. This is not how Qri Desktop's like, stuff will look. But the fun thing that we've sort of shown here is like Query Cloud is built in the background with React components and Query Desktop is built with React. And so this is actually a great sort of like example for the world of React where we were able to just copy and paste this code over and start styling.
And now Qri.io is also in React. So
it's turtles all the way down.
All of our front end code
It's Facebook, shapes, turtles, all the way down. Yeah, so I think that concludes everything I wanted to demo this week. Good sprint. It's nice to be back.
Yeah.
I think in the future we are planning to release a patch version of desktop early next week. And so that should automatically update if you already upgraded yourself. And yeah, fun things to come in this first quarter of 2020. Anybody got anything to close out? No? With that, see you next sprint.